When you hear the word shark, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For most of us, let's be honest, it's that terrifying fin slicing through the water, right? But that image, that's just one tiny piece of a story that is so much bigger, so much more incredible. So today, we're going to tear down that myth of the mindless monster and build up the reality of one of the planet's oldest and most perfectly engineered survivors.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at their unbelievable history as the ultimate survivors. Then, we'll break down the amazing anatomy that makes them such perfect predators. After that, we'll get into their wild, almost supernatural senses, see just how diverse the shark family really is, and finally, we're going to face the real danger lurking in our oceans today.
You know, before they were the villains of the big screen, sharks had a totally different reputation. For hundreds of years, sailors actually called them sea dogs. Kind of changes the picture, doesn't it? It's a world away from the monster image we have now, and it's the perfect place for us to start separating the facts from the Hollywood fiction.
All right, first up, their legacy. To really understand sharks, you have to wrap your head around just how long they've been on this planet. We're not just talking about fish here. These are living, breathing time capsules with a history that makes our own look like a blink of an eye. I mean, just look at this timeline. It's absolutely mind-bending. Shark-like creatures were swimming in the oceans over 400 million years ago. That's before the first big forests even showed up on land. They were here to see the dinosaurs come, and, critically, they were still here after they left. They survived the exact same catastrophe that wiped out the dinosaurs. The fact that we have over 500 species today, well, that's just proof of an evolutionary design that is about as close to perfect as you can get.
So, what is their secret sauce? How have they managed to stick around for so long? Well, let's dive into the incredible biological engineering that's made them so successful. It all comes down to an anatomy that is just built for pure, ruthless efficiency.
Okay, first things first, and this is wild. Sharks don't have a single bone in their body. Not one. Their whole skeleton is made of cartilage. Yeah, the same flexible stuff that's in your ears and nose. And this is a massive advantage. Cartilage is way lighter than bone, about half the density, which makes sharks incredibly agile and helps them save a ton of energy in the water.
Now check this out. Their skin is another piece of genius engineering. It feels like sandpaper, and that's because it's not made of scales like a normal fish. It's covered in millions of these tiny V-shaped things called dermal denticles. They're literally microscopic teeth covering their entire body. This setup cuts down on drag, letting them glide through the water, but it also works like a suit of chainmail, protecting them.
And of course, we have to talk about the teeth. A shark's mouth is a masterpiece. They've got multiple rows of teeth lined up, and it works like a conveyor belt. A tooth falls out? No problem. The one from the row behind it just moves right up to take its place. Some sharks will go through more than 30,000 teeth in their lifetime. And they're not all the same either. They're specialized tools. Some are like needles for grabbing fish, others are serrated like steak knives for cutting, and some are flat for crushing shells. But a shark's body is only half the picture. The way they perceive the world, it's something else entirely. Their senses are so advanced they feel like something out of a comic book, letting them tune into their environment in ways we can't even really imagine. Sharks are operating with this whole suite of super senses. You've heard about their sense of smell, right? It's legendary. They can see incredibly well in dark, murky water because their eyes have a layer that reflects light, kind of like a cat. They also have this thing called a lateral line, which is a row of sensors down their side that picks up tiny vibrations and pressure changes. But their most amazing sense? Well, that's a true sixth sense. So get this, sharks can sense electricity. All over their snouts, they have these little jelly-filled pores called the ampullae of Lorenzini. These organs are so unbelievably sensitive they can pick up the faint electrical field given off by a fish's beating heart, even if it's buried in the sand. It's the most powerful electrical sense of any animal on Earth. It's a biological superpower, plain and simple. With all of this incredible biology, it's pretty easy to just picture the shark as one type of animal, probably a great white. But the truth is, there's no such thing as the shark. This family is unbelievably diverse, with different kinds of sharks adapted to pretty much every single marine habitat you can think of.
On one end of the scale, you have this little guy, the dwarf lantern shark. At just 17 centimeters, it can fit right in the palm of your hand. It lives way down in the deep sea, and get this, it even glows in the dark. It's bioluminescent. And then you go to the complete opposite end of the spectrum, the magnificent whale shark. These things can get up to 18 meters long. That's nearly 60 feet.
It's the biggest fish on the entire planet. And here's the best part. This gentle giant is a filter feeder. It eats tiny plankton. It completely shatters that vicious predator stereotype, doesn't it?
And all this diversity is organized into different groups or orders, each with its own cool quirks. You've got the ground sharks, like bull sharks, that are super adaptable. Then you have the mackerel sharks, like the great white, which are so powerful they can actually keep their bodies warmer than the water around them. And you've got carpet sharks, which are masters of camouflage, blending right into the seafloor. They are so far from being all the same.
So, we've seen their incredible resilience, their perfect anatomy, their amazing diversity. But this whole evolutionary success story, well, it has a tragic flaw. Sharks reproduce very slowly. Many of them take more than 10 years just to become adults, and they have very few babies. For millions of years, that strategy worked just fine. But now it makes them incredibly vulnerable because they're facing their one and only true predator.
This number is it's staggering. Since 1970, in a little over 50 years, the global population of sharks and rays in the open ocean has crashed by more than 71%. They just can't reproduce fast enough to bounce back from that kind of pressure. And it's driven almost entirely by one thing: overfishing.
This chart right here, it puts our relationship with sharks into very sharp focus. On average, around the entire world, there are about 4 fatal unprovoked shark attacks on people each year. 4. In that same year, we kill an estimated 100 million sharks. When you look at those numbers side by side, the question of who should be afraid of whom, it becomes painfully clear.
A huge driver of this slaughter is the practice of shark finning. It's as brutal as it sounds. Sharks are caught, their fins are cut off, usually for shark fin soup, and then the animal, which is often still alive, is just tossed back into the ocean. Without its fins, it can't swim. It just sinks and either suffocates or gets eaten. It's an unbelievably cruel and wasteful industry.
But the story isn't over. It's not all doom and gloom. There is a fight back happening. Conservation efforts are picking up steam. Countries are creating massive shark sanctuaries where fishing is illegal. Laws are being passed to ban finning. And maybe most importantly, people are becoming more aware, slowly changing how we see sharks, not as monsters, but as vital predators that desperately need our help.
So, we end right back where we started. For 400 million years, sharks have been symbols of survival and power. And now, as these ancient survivors face the single greatest threat in their entire, long history, we're left with a pretty tough question. We've built them up as monsters in our stories for centuries, but when you look at the facts, maybe we've been pointing the finger in the wrong direction all along.